You're staring at a blank document. You know exactly what you want to write, but it's not perfect yet. So you don't write anything. You just sit there, waiting for inspiration, waiting for the exact right words to appear so you don't have to delete them and start over. Your assignment is due tomorrow. You've got maybe 6 hours left, and you're still waiting for perfect. This is called perfectionism, and it's not ambition. It's not high standards. It's actually a sophisticated form of self-sabotage wrapped up in language that sounds noble. Here's what's happening. Your brain has set an impossibly high bar for what you're allowed to produce. And since nothing you write will ever meet that bar, you don't write anything. You procrastinate. You tell yourself you're being thorough. You're being detail-oriented. You're just making sure it's good enough. But what you're really doing is protecting yourself from the terrifying possibility that you'll put in effort and it still won't be good enough. If you never try, you never have to face that failure. This is called the perfectionism paradox. The more you care about doing something perfectly, the less likely you are to actually do it. Because perfect is impossible. And your brain knows it. There's a researcher named Piers Steele who studies procrastination, and he found that perfectionism is one of the strongest predictors of chronic procrastination. Not laziness, not lack of motivation. Perfectionism. The belief that if you can't do it perfectly, it's not worth doing at all. And college is literally designed to trigger perfectionism. You're being graded on everything. Your GPA determines your internships. Your internships determine your job. Your job determines your life. So every assignment feels like it matters. Every grade feels like it's a referendum on your worth as a person. So your brain goes into overdrive. It sets impossibly high standards. And then it punishes you when you can't meet them. And the only way to escape that punishment is to not try. To procrastinate. To tell yourself you'll do it later when you have more time or more energy or more inspiration. But later never comes. Because later, you still won't have perfect inspiration. You still won't have perfect energy. You still won't know the perfect way to say it. The thing about perfectionism is that it feels productive. It feels like you're being careful and thoughtful. But you're actually just being stuck. You're trading actually doing the work for the fantasy of doing it perfectly someday. And the irony is that the work you actually do produce is usually worse than if you just let yourself be imperfect from the start. Because perfectionism doesn't just stop you from starting. It stops you from finishing. You write a paragraph and immediately edit it. You delete it. You rewrite it. You spend 3 hours on one paragraph and end up with something worse than what you started with because you've edited out all the genuine voice and personality. This is called perfectionism paralysis. And it's not a character strength. It's a cognitive trap. Here's what actually works. And it's going to feel wrong at first because you're wired to believe that good work requires perfection. It's called the first draft principle. And it's simple. Your first draft doesn't have to be good. It just has to exist. Give yourself permission to write badly. Actually give yourself explicit permission. I am allowed to write a terrible first draft. I am allowed to have bad ideas. I am allowed to make mistakes. And then write it. Don't edit. Don't judge. Just get the words out. Quantity first, quality later. There's another researcher named Brené Brown who talks about this, and she calls it showing up as a beginner. You have to be willing to produce something imperfect and put it out into the world anyway. Not because it's perfect, but because it's real. The thing about perfectionists is that they're usually terrified of being seen as ordinary. So they'd rather not be seen at all than be seen as average. But here's the truth. Everything good you've ever seen started as a first draft. Every movie you love had a terrible script before it became good. Every song you like was written by someone who played it badly at first. Every book you've read was a rough draft before it was published. Perfectionists don't understand that good work is iterative. It's messy. It's imperfect. You write badly first. Then you edit. Then you rewrite. Then you edit again. And slowly, through that messy process, something good emerges. But that requires you to be willing to write badly first. And perfectionism doesn't allow that. So here's the move. Next time you're staring at a blank page and waiting for perfect inspiration, write something terrible. Write the worst possible version. Make it deliberately bad if you have to. Just break the seal. Get something down. And then you can edit it. You can improve it. You can make it better. But you can't improve something that doesn't exist yet. You can't edit a blank page. You can't make perfect something that was never written in the first place. The irony of perfectionism is that it guarantees failure. Because the only way to actually produce something is to let it be imperfect first. So next time you're about to procrastinate because it won't be perfect, remember this. Perfect doesn't exist. But done does. And done is always better than perfect. Write the bad draft. Finish the imperfect assignment. Submit the work that's not quite right but actually exists. Because the only way to become good at something is to be willing to be bad at it first. And perfectionism never lets you be bad at anything. So it never lets you get good either. Break the cycle. Be imperfect. And then see what you actually produce when you're not waiting for permission to be human.